Welcome to the AI for Career Success video overview by Curt Robbins. We're experts at AI coaching and helping professionals like you and your employees upskill in AI. The analysis we're diving into today comes from a very insightful piece in TechCrunch. It's titled Google and Intel Deepen AI Infrastructure Partnership, and it was published on April 9th, 2024 by Rebecca Skutok.
So, here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll look at the partnership announcement itself. Then, we'll get into the technology behind it. After that, we'll discuss the unsung role of CPUs, look at the wider industry trend, and finally, wrap up with the key strategic takeaway for you.
All right, so first up, the partnership announcement. Let's really examine what this expanded deal between Google and Intel is all about.
So what are the key details here? Well, it's a major, multi-year expansion of their partnership. The bottom line is that Google Cloud is committing to using Intel's AI infrastructure for the long haul. But, it's not just about buying chips. They're also going to be working even more closely on developing custom processors together. And as you might expect, the financial terms haven't been made public. All right, so that's the big picture of the deal. Now, let's get into the specifics of the technology. What hardware are we actually talking about here? It's important to understand that this isn't some brand new relationship. It's really just the latest chapter in a story that goes back for years. Google has been using Intel's Xeon processors for decades. The two companies officially started co-developing custom chips back in 2021. So what this new deal does is it really solidifies and ramps up that already existing partnership. Okay, so what hardware are we focusing on? Well, a big part of it is Intel's new Xeon 6 processors. These are built specifically for AI and cloud computing. But the real headline here, the strategic core of this deal, is the joint development of custom IPUs. That stands for Infrastructure Processing Units. And for those of you who might not know, an IPU is a type of ASIC, which is just a technical way of saying it's a chip designed to do one very specific job and do it really, really well. So what does an IPU actually do? It's a great question. Here's a good way to think about it. Imagine your main CPU is the brilliant head researcher in a lab. The IPU is the ultra-efficient lab manager. It takes care of all the background stuff, managing the network, organizing storage, all the logistical tasks. This frees up that brilliant researcher, the CPU, to focus on the really heavy thinking, the complex calculations. The end result? The whole system, the whole data center, just runs a lot more smoothly and efficiently. This whole conversation about IPUs and offloading tasks, well, it naturally leads us to the unsung hero of the AI hardware world, the CPU. GPUs get all the attention, right? But this partnership between Google and Intel really shines a light on why the CPU is just as critical to the big picture. So let's be really clear about the difference between a GPU and a CPU in the context of AI. Think of it this way. A GPU is like a state-of-the-art, specialized gym. It's where an AI model goes to do all the intense, heavy lifting, the training to get smart. But the CPU, that's the engine that actually runs the AI model out in the real world every single time you interact with it. That part is called inference. And it's really the day-to-day workhorse of the AI world. And this idea is summed up perfectly by Intel's CEO, Lip-Bu Tan. He said, and I quote, "Scaling AI requires more than accelerators. It requires balanced systems." What he means is, you can't just throw bigger and bigger GPUs at the problem. To really scale AI effectively, you need a balanced system where all the parts, the CPUs, the IPUs, the GPUs, are working together in harmony. It's about the performance of the whole system, not just one flashy component. Now, it's really important to see that this deal between Google and Intel isn't an isolated event. It's actually a great example of a much wider trend that's happening across the industry right now. So what's driving this trend? A huge factor is the growing global shortage of CPUs. There's a serious supply crunch happening, and that pressure is forcing companies everywhere to get strategic about securing their supply and, just as importantly, to invest in new, smarter, more efficient solutions, which is exactly what we're seeing with this partnership. And you don't have to look far to see other companies reacting to this. Take ARM Holdings, for instance. They're a massive player in chip design, right? Well, they just announced a new chip, the ARM AGI CPU. And what's significant is that this is the first chip they're actually producing themselves. That's a huge shift for them, and it's a direct response to this worldwide CPU shortage. Okay, so we've talked about the deal, the tech, and the industry trends. But let's bring it back to you. what does all of this infrastructure news actually mean for your career? So, why should a hardware deal between two giants matter to your career success? Well, the answer really gets to the heart of how the skill set for AI professionals is changing as we speak. And this is the single most important thing to take away from our discussion today. Simply being a GPU expert isn't going to be enough anymore. The real competitive advantage, the thing that will set you apart, is understanding the full hardware stack. That means knowing how CPUs, IPUs, and GPUs all fit together to create a balanced, efficient system. This is quickly moving from a nice-to-have skill to an absolutely essential one. So, that really leaves us with a critical question to consider. As these AI systems continue to get more complex, more balanced, where are you going to focus your own upskilling efforts to make sure you stay ahead of the curve? Thank you for joining this overview. This is where we teach you AI and help you get smarter than your competition. If you like these videos, use the QR code at the beginning of this video to buy us a coffee, or hire us to coach you or your employees in AI. We also recommend that you subscribe to the AI for Career Success YouTube channel. Please like, comment, and share to help us reach a wider audience of professionals like you.